Okay, this is the video part of my speech of my personal stance for Colin Kaepernick and the whole taking a knee situation. I want to first start with my personal stance saying that yes, I agree with him wholeheartedly, and I agree with him primarily because of his methods and how he's making sure that he addresses the people who might have respectful disagreements or respectful concerns about his message. Now, to get started, this whole thing started back in 2016 when Colin Kaepernick, in uniform, sat down on the bench during the preseason game against the Green Bay Packers. And I emphasize in uniform because as I've done my research, there were actually two games prior to this where he sat down on the bench, but since he wasn't dressed due to injury, no one really noticed. I guess they noticed more because he was in uniform that particular game. Nassau started making national headlines. Since that day, it's been a whole whirlwind of concerns and negative comments and positive comments as well. But the negative comments, the main two were one, he is disrespecting America, and number two, he is disrespecting the veterans who fight for our rights to stand up for our national anthem and be free. While I do understand those 2 points, I feel like that message was a little bit extreme because I don't feel like he was disrespecting veterans, especially after reading through some research, especially one particular article where it was called, give me 1 second, the veteran and NFL player who advised Kaepernick to take a knee. That was Nate Boyer, who is a former NFL player and now he works into the military. He's a Green Beret veteran, and he actually reached out to Colin Kaepernick, expressing his respectful concerns about how much the flag meant to him and how much he kind of didn't agree with his whole sitting down the bench thing. To his surprise, Colin Kaepernick actually reached back out to him and stated that, hey, let's meet up, let's decide this right now. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is not an issue going forward. So they did end up meeting up, and that's how Nate Boyer and Colin Kaepernick compromised into taking a knee during the national anthem. That way, it wasn't seen as disrespectful to the veterans, yet it still helped Colin Kaepernick provide the message that he wanted to provide. I think that's very important because the main argument is, or the main counter argument, I should say, is that he was very, very disloyal to veterans who feel that they fought for nothing because they can't, don't want to stand for the national anthem. And I feel like that should be ceased right now because it was a veteran who told him to take a knee in the first place. Yes, Colin Kaepernick recognized he was wrong. And let's make sure we know that he recognized he was wrong in sitting down on the bench for the very first time to the national attention. So he amended that. He fixed it by speaking to a veteran, seeing what he should do, and that's how he decided that he should take a knee instead. Also, one of his concerns was, I don't care if I lose my endorsements, I don't care if I lose my contract. This is much bigger than football. I mean, he was right. Now, there have been there's a positive and a negative to that. The negative was, yes, ever since then, he was released by the 49ers, and he has yet to be in the NFL on an NFL roster again since 2016 or maybe early 2017. On a positive, however, he has received a lot of support from celebrities, from Ava DuVernay, the famous director, from NBA star LeBron James, and even people like Nick Cannon, D.L. Hewley. They're supported either by not watching the NFL as a protest for them not supporting Kaepernick, or they had a special jersey that had Kaepernick's number 7, and it had a small hashtag right here where it said, I stand with Cap. Even the biggest one is with Cardi B, who had an interview with the Associated Press explaining how she was offered a Super Bowl opportunity to perform at halftime. And this was in 2000. Let me double check the year. I apologize. I believe it was 2017 or 2019 as well. But she also denied that opportunity because she felt like she needed to support Kaepernick. Because even though she's not all the way black, just like Kaepernick is not all the way black, she felt Kaepernick's message, and she felt that she needed to support that and continue with that halftime performance would be going against that message. So I also support Cardi B and what she did. As you can tell, it really hasn't hurt her financially or notoriety wise. She's still a very famous artist. She's doing very well for herself, and I'm happy about that. Give me 1 second. I'm checking my notes as I speak just to make sure I don't miss any points. Okay. My main sources were the Undefeated. The Undefeated helped me find 2 articles. One that helped detail exactly how it started, and two detailing how all celebrities came out in support of Kaepernick. There was even a message from President Barack Obama, who was president at the time, saying that he is happy that Colin Kaepernick is taking a stand because it's a good sign of our youth being engaged in the political matters and using their voice rather than just standing on the sidelines and just turning a blind eye to these situations. So If you have President Barack Obama backing you up, in addition to all the celebrities, then obviously you're doing something right. And Nike used the campaign based on his message by doing whatever you can, despite what anybody says. This is something you can still view today, going on the Nike website, or you can just type it in Nike Colin Kaepernick. They made posters and videos and everything that you could probably imagine with Nike. So another applause to Nike for making that video as well. Now, I feel like this is a very short and not really much to discuss. I'm really glad to hear my classmates' opinions because I really feel like they might have some really good ideas, and I would love to discuss this in a respectful manner. But like I said, my personal stance is I agree with Colin Kaepernick wholeheartedly, and I also agree with his methods in making sure that anybody who feels seriously disrespected or seriously offended by his actions, he makes sure he talks to them. He speaks to them as much as he can to make sure that, hey, this is my message. I don't want it to be misconstrued or misinterpreted in any other way, shape, or form. Now, for the people who are saying that it's disrespectful for him to not stand for the flag, that kind of goes back to his whole message is he's not going to stand in pride for a country that's oppressing people that are minorities of color. So my question, like I asked in my written speech, is: would you respect anyone or anything that is disrespectful towards you? I feel like that is a very key question that people need to ask because he's only doing this because it became so serious, became so prevalent, it became such a pressing matter to himself, and not only to himself but others as well, that he had to do something about it. Because let's remember, earlier that year in 2016 in July, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and Dwayne Wade stood up at the ESPYS, which is like the ESPN Sports Awards show, and they made a message standing up against violence in minority neighborhoods or black neighborhoods, and they were trying to make sure that we need to stop this. We need to make sure we improve our standard in this culture, socially, economically, and culturally. So Colin Kaepernick is not the first one to do it. He probably won't be the last one to do it. But he's definitely made waves because he's an NFL player, or was an NFL player at least, and making sure that his message was known because it was bigger than football to him. That was really main concern with athletes because we were athletes beforehand. Yes, they had their personal opinions, and yes, some athletes have spoken out, whether it was Arthur Ashe or the two Olympian track runners who held their fist up in protest at the Olympics on the medal stage. But Colin Kaepernick is a modern day version of those same people who really taking that very next step despite whatever consequences he may face in order to voice his opinion. So like I said, in conclusion, my personal stance is I feel like his efforts are effective and I feel like they really are making waves and I support his message wholeheartedly. I also support his methods wholeheartedly, which I feel like is just as key as the message itself. I'm looking forward to debating and respectfully arguing with my classmates when we discuss this in class, or even arguing with my group members, seeing how their opinions go. But yes, that is my personal stance, and I hope you learned a lot from what I had to say today. Thank you.